Hello, ladies and gentlemen, family and friends. Welcome to the Hope Rising Summit 2020, the first annual Hope Rising Summit for suicide prevention, mental health, and all things wellness. My name is Kevin Hines, and today we have a very special guest. I'm so very excited to be with actor, producer, director Justin Baldoni, a phenomenal advocate for change and homelessness prevention, an amazing human being, and just an all-around great guy. Today we're going to talk about his company, Wayfarer Entertainment and Wayfarer Foundation. And we're going to talk about his life story and what he's been through to find hope in his life, find light, find healing, and live peacefully in a state of wellness. Hi, Justin. How are you?
Hey, what's up, my man? How are you, brother?
I'm doing really well. It is so nice to see you, and thank you for agreeing to do this with us. We're so grateful.
When you call, I answer, my man. I
Oh,
appreciate you and your work and your story.
Thank you, brother. We met at the Voice Awards some years ago,
Yeah,
and we got to chatting, and we did a quick live video on your Instagram.
I remember, man.
Yeah, and then we did a video after that, and you had been doing these lives online, and people were writing in, "This saved my life." I mean, you were doing these just impromptu lives at night, and you were reaching so many people in your audience that were going through pain. What did it feel like to make that much of a difference?
Look, man, it's a hard question. One thing I can tell you is that I don't believe that any of that is me. I think all of us are channels for something greater, and we all have the choice to make things about ourselves or to make things about the greater good. And it's hard because we live in a society that regularly awards us for these types of things and gives us accolades. But I think that's a slippery slope. So I really honestly, I try to not think about it too much. But when the pandemic hit and we started doing these nightly lives, I remember the very first night, I had just this feeling. I don't know how to describe it, but I was like, it was a voice. It was, it was my friends who've passed away. It was God. It was basically just pulling me saying, "Hey, go on, go live." And I hadn't been live. I didn't know how it worked really. The idea of going live was kind of scary to me because it was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And I couldn't explain it except that I knew that at night, it's the hardest for people that are going through breakups, people that are suffering from depression in many ways. And really the entire world was going through this together. And I just was like, I feel like I should go live. So I went live that night and I had no idea what I was going to say. There was no purpose. It was just, I just wanted to let everybody know that they were going to be okay. Even if I didn't know that. But at the end of the day, there's a quote in the Baha'i writings where Baha'u'llah says, "Nothing save that which profiteth them can ever befall my loved ones." So nothing except what will benefit us can ever happen to us. And I just felt like the world was so hopeless and the pandemic was hitting, and I went live that night and I just wanted to remind people that they were enough as they were. That was it. I went off, and that's when I got that first message saying that there was a young woman who was about to take her life when she saw my notification.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that created a very interesting situation for me, because at that moment I thought to myself, well, for every one person that writes in, that means there could be 10 to 100 more. And I honestly felt then at that point a responsibility, and I started doing it every night, and I did it every night, I think for 40 nights or something like that. And it became something that was it was helpful for me, but also it created a tremendous burden for me. And I want to talk to you about that too, because there's a burden that comes when you place someone else's life and you take that into your hands and you say, "I'm doing this to save a life." It becomes this weight where you feel like, if I don't do it, then I'm failing, or I'm failing this person, or what if and it really started to mess with my head, because I found myself feeling the weight of the pandemic, my responsibility as a father and a husband to make sure my family felt safe. Also, I was still finishing my movie during the pandemic. I was running a company. I had all these things happening, but at the end of the night, what would have been time for my wife and I was like, baby, I have to go live, because what if somebody's going to kill themselves? What if, and so I did it, but it really wasn't my burden to carry. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I did it. So I did that to myself. And honestly, it happened. There was quite a few messages of people, even down to a message I got, Jazz Thornton and she randomly was someone I selected to go live. And she has an incredible story like you. And
Yeah.
she told me a month later, when she had gone back to the mental institution that she was committed at, that there was a young woman in that institution who also, she was allowed to have her phone, who was tying her sheets together as a rope before she got my notification. And again, it just goes down to like, God works through all of us in such magical ways. But I really struggled, man. It actually affected my mental health. So here I was trying to help others while falling into a bit of a depression and having more anxiety myself. So I made the choice. To stop, and because I was getting beaten down and I was exhausted and I didn't have any time, and my marriage was starting to hurt because there was no time for my wife and I. Even though we were connecting on the lives, we weren't connecting with each other. So I looked at it as a 40-day experiment and a gift and time well spent. But I reached the point where I was like, you know what? Mental health is also about self-care. And now I have to take care of myself.
And you always have to take care of yourself, or you can't take care of anybody else. And
Exactly.
You've got family, you've got kids, Maya Maxwell, and Justin, you're right, because it's not that we save these lives; it's that we are conduits of their change. So
Exactly.
we spread a message of hope, and they go home and do the work to change and save their own lives. But they've been given this gift of a message of hope that they cling to and they feel for. There's actually a great art and science to storytelling, or to sharing personal pain, with the idea that it'll lead to someone actually finding the light at the end of their tunnel and moving forward in their existence. So fascinating. Let's switch gears just for a minute. I want to go into something you once said about acting, about your love for acting, because you get to live inside characters very different from yourself. What is your absolute favorite part of being an actor, now writer, producer, director? What do you love the most about about film?
I think it's simple. I think it's the exploration of humanity. I think that film and art, I mean, these are empathy machines, and I think what the world has always needed and needs now more than ever is a big injection, a big dose of empathy. And what I've loved about it is getting a chance to play characters that maybe the world would look at as bad people, but are the heroes in their own story. And it allows you to kind of look at people, and instead of judging them for who they are, the choices they make, it allows you to take a second and go, well, they think they're doing the right thing. So what does that look like? And then how does that translate to your everyday life as a human being? And now as a director, as a filmmaker, even when I'm, even if I have a quote unquote villain, or there's an antagonist, again, if that villain had its own movie, it would be the hero in it. Right. And I think it just allows all of us to take a step back and it creates an opportunity to have empathy. So for me, what I love is the opportunity to play people different from myself, because it broadens my perspective. My perspective is limited.
Yeah.
And all of our perspectives are limited. We all have our blinders on and our glasses on, and we all have our various levels of privilege. I know I do, especially at my intersection of being a straight white man. It's all right here. So getting a chance to expand that, see the world differently.
And you stated in your TED Talk that the early roles you earned or were given embodied machismo, charisma, and power by Hollywood, but you were candid that that's not how you saw yourself. How did you see yourself?
Not that.
Yeah.
Not like that. It's funny. I just sent in the draft of I have a book coming out next year, and it's all about masculinity. And unpacking that has been a journey. I think I see myself, and a lot of us men see ourselves as who we were when we were 8 or 9 or 10. These experiences we had socially, whether it be at school or via the trauma of our families or our parents, things that happened to us in our lives live inside of us, and they invisibly influence so many of the decisions that we make in our everyday life and the way that we see ourselves. And if you look at these bodybuilders, right, who are on this endless search for perfection that will never happen, and you wonder how, when they look at themselves, how they could see somebody who maybe doesn't look the way that we see them. I've had versions of muscle and body dysmorphia throughout my life without realizing it. I oftentimes don't look at myself and think, oh man, I'm not man enough, or I'm not good looking enough, or I'm not fit enough, or I'm not talented enough, or I'm not, whatever the things were that were drilled into my head by the other boys in school or by my teachers growing up. So I viewed myself from a place of lack versus from a place of abundance and love. And through that lack and through that feeling that maybe I wasn't enough came an overcompensation to be like other guys, right? That's where performance came in, right? That's how I believe masculinity can be performative, is because we have a vision of what we're supposed to be as men. Therefore, we put on the mask, or we put on the armor, and we go try to become that, whether it be in relationships with the women in our lives, or, if you don't identify as straight, with other men, whether it's as fathers or as parents, as human beings, we perform. So for me, I didn't see myself as this person that had machismo. I saw myself as kind of a skinny kid that nobody really liked, that that was just trying to make it. In fact, I didn't see myself even as good looking, because I was kind of an ugly duckling when I was in high school, and I never got the girl, and all of the things that we tell ourselves. And as my wife says to me, be nice to my husband.
Oh, I love that.
I'm on a journey, and will continue to be on a journey, to, when I look in the mirror, to be nice to myself.
And we all can take a page from your book and do that, and go get your book when it comes out.
Yeah.
Do you have a title for the book?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but I will anyways.
Oh, okay.
But all I can tell you is that it's a journey. It's a personal journey around masculinity. So, there'll definitely be more info on that coming soon.
People will know about it very soon. I'm a person, Justin, that's always said that a pain shared is a pain halved. And you talked about, as well in your TED Talk, about talking about pain with other men and then getting them to talk about their pain. Just describe what the journey is like in the friendships and male relationships you have, where you've helped or you've been a part of a journey of someone telling their truth.
Oh man. Well, look, I think, the intersection of my work and your work is interesting, because, as we know, more men kill themselves than any gender, right, in the world. And men kill themselves at a higher rate as well. And it's really unfortunate. And there's a lot of reasons why that happens. There's a lot of different research that talks about why that happens. But the one thing that we know, and we can connect the dots with, is that men have a hard time sharing their pain with other men, and with anybody really in general. Traditionally, men are more comfortable talking to their barber, or their, the person serving them drinks, their bartender, than they are to a therapist or to another friend. And it's hard, because I also, as woke as maybe I might seem, I struggle with the exact same things, man. Like, there's something in me, because I think of, maybe it's being a man in America or growing up the way that I have, there's something in me that's been socialized to prevent me from being comfortable telling another man about my pain. And I can't explain it except that it's like this invisible force, this like force field that, like, as soon as I feel like the urge to, there's something reminding me that, like, no, that would, that would make me less than, or that would make me vulnerable, or that would take me off of the like alpha position that maybe I'm in this relationship, or maybe they would be able to use that against me. Whatever happens in the back of my head, no matter how close I am with that person, there's like a barrier, an invisible barrier preventing me from doing it. And if I'm feeling it, I know other men are feeling it. And we know other men are feeling it because millions of men have admitted to having a hard time expressing their pain and being truly vulnerable with other men. So what I've noticed and what I found is, I like to relate it to cold plunging, right? I've recently got into cold plunging and cold exposure, right? This idea of forcing myself to sit in an ice cold bath for 3 minutes. It's the worst thing you could ever experience. It's terrible. But there's something about it that is analogous to, I think, the journey of what it is to be a man with pain, trying to share pain. And that is the feeling and the resistance that I experience before I get into a cold plunge is so overwhelming. My brain is reasoning and bargaining with me every step of the way. No, you don't want to do this. You know what? Do it tomorrow. I'll do it tonight when you're warmer. You know what? Maybe do it later. Why do you need to do that? You don't need to do that. Like, there's a voice saying, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's talking to me. And my job at that point is to quiet the voice, to get it to shut the hell up so that I can win. Because I know that if I beat that voice and I sit in that water and I go through the pain, because I know it's going to be painful, I know it's going to be uncomfortable, when I get out of that tub, I'm going to be experiencing bliss. And I'm going to be lighter, and I'm going to feel lighter, and I'm going to feel better, and my heart's going to be pumping, and I'm going to be able to feel my skin, and I'm going to feel fucking alive. That is the same feeling that I experience when I'm hurting and I need to call one of my guy friends. That same barrier to entry, that same voice. But when I do it, when I reach out, when I tell a friend, man, I'm really struggling. I know I look like I got it all going on, and I'm presenting a happy facade, but you know what, man, I'm really struggling. I feel like I'm failing my children right now. I feel like I'm failing my wife. I feel like I'm not showing up for anybody. When I can give that to another man, and then in exchange, they can give that back to me, massive healing happens. And I feel alive, and I feel seen, and I feel that same bliss that I feel when I get out of a cold plunge. And so, for me, God, I just wish other men, if there's one thing I wish for other men, it's that they find a way to push through that discomfort and get comfortable in the uncomfortable. And when they're hurting, when they're sad, when they're depressed, when they're anxious, even if they don't even have the vocabulary to know they're feeling these things, because as men, we struggle with that they find another man and reach out and say, I need help. Because when left unchecked and when left without someone to talk to, that emotion, that repression turns into anger, turns into rage, it's all misplaced pain. And that can turn into deep depression. And deep depression can, as you know, turn into hopelessness, and it can lead to a feeling that we're alone, that we have nothing to offer, we're not worthy, and that we shouldn't be here anymore. And I want as many men to be here tomorrow as you do.
Justin, I really appreciate your words because they mean a lot to me. I have two more questions that I know we have a little bit of time left.
Oh man, I love talking to you, Kevin.
Be brief about it, but here goes. You love the quote by the Baha'i faith: "The world of humanity is possessed of two wings, the male and the female. So long as these two wings are not equivalent in strength, the bird will not fly." Please describe what that quote means to you and what your faith means to you.
Well, look, I believe that you watched my TED Talk, Kevin Hines. Look, I think gender equality is one of the most important and pressing issues, today. I think, coupled with the elimination of racism and all forms of prejudice, I think those are the two things holding us back more than anything. Look, I believe that I believe that women need to be given the exact same opportunities as men in all arenas, in all areas of life. I believe that as men, we need to be comfortable with the parts of ourselves that are historically and socially deemed feminine. And I also feel the same way, that women should be comfortable with the parts of themselves that maybe are perceived to be masculine. I think that the world is in desperate need of balance. And if I think about that quote is about balance, right? You need, like, a bird needs equal wings to fly. And for humanity to soar, we need to find balance. I crave and desire that for my wife, for my mom, for my sister, for my daughter, for my son. And I think true gender equality actually makes the lives of men that much better. But look, as we're learning as it relates to racism, for those with privilege, equality can feel like oppression, right? And I pray we get to a place where men all over the world will do whatever they can to check their unconscious biases and break the glass ceiling, and go out of their way to understand that there is no difference between women and men except what we make of it here physically. And spiritually, we're all the same. And in terms of my faith, man, the Baha'i faith, I just believe that we're all one, right? We're all the fruits of one tree and the leaves of one branch. I believe that you can't know or understand God, just like we can't comprehend the vastness of the universe. We're finite beings. We can't comprehend the infinite. We're all spiritual beings having a physical experience. And I think that, the Baha'i faith has been a grounding force for me because it reminds me that I'm here to be of service. It reminds me that I have a body, but I'm not my body. It reminds me that I have a soul. And my purpose in life is to, develop all the physical attributes, to develop all my spiritual attributes, just like in the womb, I developed my physical attributes for wherever I'm going next, which none of us really know. All we know is that we don't need our bodies. We're not going to take our bodies, but I do believe we're going to take our souls, and the qualities like kindness, compassion, love, steadfastness, humility, patience. These are all the things that are going to become our strengths, our attributes in the next world. So this is the time to develop those things. So I salute you for dedicating your life to helping people develop those things, and for dedicating your life to helping people express themselves so that they don't have to do what you tried to do and get to the place of hopelessness, and for saving as many lives as you're saving and inspiring as many conversations as you're inspiring, because you're also doing that work, my friend.
Thank you, Justin. It touches my heart right here. I want to ask you one final question. I know you got to go. You created and founded Wayfarer Entertainment and the Wayfarer Foundation. Please tell us about the entertainment company and the work you do in film and TV and publishing, and the work you do in helping people who are living without homes find their light.
Sure. For the sake of time, we'll just talk about the Wayfarer Foundation.
Sure.
So look, the Wayfarer Foundation is a nonprofit that was started honestly because I had a crazy idea to create a day of human kindness in one of the worst places in the country, Skid Row, Los Angeles. The idea was born, originally because I started celebrating my birthday downtown with a few friends, and I thought, hey, what a great way to guilt people into coming with me to Skid Row and, providing clothes and food and having conversations with people we might normally never have conversations with. People celebrate birthdays every day on Skid Row, but how often are they really celebrated? And so, for my birthday, I started going down there, and it eventually grew into this idea that maybe we could throw a carnival. The carnivals go all over the country. They come to towns and cities, and there's something to look forward to for the people in those communities every single year. It's like, well, what if we did that for the community of Skid Row? They're just as deserving as everyone else. Let's throw them a carnival. So we designed a carnival specifically catered around the needs of those on Skid Row. And instead of just fun and games, we provided necessary services, essential services, services that they might not have access to, or at the very least have access to all of them at one place at one time, so they don't have to take a bus somewhere or make an appointment somewhere. Whether it was ID cards from the DMV or library cards, whether it was HIV tests or just in general checkups, dental exams, mental health checks, there was therapy, legal services, housing, the list goes on, resume building, job opportunities. We wanted to find a way to bring all of these services to these people who we oftentimes forget exist, and also create a day of joy and fun. And it was built around the idea that one smile, one hug, one person can change the course of your life. So every volunteer that came to the carnival was paired with a guest of the carnival who was experiencing homelessness for a day of friendship. And they would walk around the carnival together. They'd get to go pick out clothes. They'd go shopping, shoes, clothes, books, toiletry items, things that they need. They'd have a beautiful meal provided by one of we had this huge barbecue cookout for 5,000 people, and they'd go through the services. They could get a haircut, they get a makeover, they can get a shave, whatever they needed that day. But it was about the individual one-on-one connection. So the Wayfarer Foundation, through love and through one-on-one connections, is hoping to, make a small dent in the lives of the unhoused population and show that through love, anything is possible.
Beautiful. That's amazing. How does someone help or become a part of the Wayfarer Foundation?
You can, I believe it's wayfarerfoundation.org or the wayfarerfoundation.org. And you can follow our journey on social media. And, we won't be doing the carnival this year because I think putting 5,000 people together in a few city blocks isn't the best move in the middle of a pandemic. But we are looking for ways to keep that love and spread that love. And we're showing up currently every single week on Skid Row, passing out masks and PPE and providing meals. And we've been doing it throughout the entire pandemic, and we hope to continue to do it.
Justin, to say the very least, you are an amazing human being. We love you very much. We're very grateful for you. This is Justin Baldoni on the Hope Rising Summit. Hope you enjoyed our time here together. Justin, thank you so much. Be well and always be here tomorrow, my friend.
Be here tomorrow, brother. Much love.